The 1970s Tuscan countryside of Chianti stretches like a living painting, a mosaic of soft hills and deep valleys. This land, kissed by the sun and caressed by a gentle breeze, was a portrait of rural harmony. Neat vineyards and centuries-old olive groves drew symmetrical lines along the slopes, while wheat fields swayed to the rhythm of the wind, creating a golden sea under the blue sky. The medieval villages, with their stone towers and paved streets, rise majestically on the hilltops, silent guardians of centuries of history and culture. The scattered farms, built in red brick and surrounded by soaring cypress trees, were centers of life and work, where families cultivated the land and produced wine and oil, following seasonal rhythms and ancient traditions. The Chianti of the 1970s was a place where time seemed to pass more slowly, and life was woven with simplicity and close ties to nature. Spring brought with it an explosion of colors, with poppies and sunflowers dotting the fields and vineyards. Summer was marked by the grape and olive harvest, a time of hard work but also of celebration, where communities came together to celebrate the fruits of their labor. Despite modern challenges and changes, the Tuscan countryside of the Chianti region has retained its timeless charm, a reminder of a time when land and man were in perfect symbiosis. This region continues to be a symbol of natural beauty, cultural richness, and unparalleled food and wine heritage, attracting travelers and dreamers from every corner of the world. In the heart of the 1970s, Italy was going through a period of profound transformation. After the peaceful claims and protests of '68, the country was now immersed in a climate of violent extremism, with the rise of terrorist cells from both the right and the left. This decade saw 6 devastating massacres that left an indelible mark on the Italian social fabric. The economic situation was equally turbulent. With the end of the Bretton Woods monetary system in 1971, Italy entered a period of financial instability. The lira depreciated significantly against the dollar, marking the beginning of an economically difficult decade. In 1973, the global energy crisis hit Italy hard. Rising oil prices and the embargo imposed by OPEC countries had direct repercussions on the Italian economy, leading to an unprecedented post-war recession and a series of energy restrictions that touched every aspect of daily life. Politically, Italy was marked by instability. Short-lived governments and the internal struggle within the Christian Democrats characterized this period. Extreme attempts, such as the Borghese coup of 1970, also highlighted the fragility of Italian political institutions. In this context, the historical compromise between the Christian Democrats and the Italian Communist Party emerged. This political shift aimed to stabilize the country, but was tragically interrupted in 1978 with the kidnapping and assassination of Aldo Moro, an episode that shook the nation deeply. Against this backdrop of uncertainty and tension, 1974 marked the beginning of a series of heinous crimes attributed to the Monster of Florence, adding further disquiet to an already deeply troubled society. At dawn on 15 September 1974, Pietro Landi, a farmer, while crossing the fields to work in his vineyard near Borgo San Lorenzo, a town located in the area known as Mugello, made a chilling discovery. He came across the lifeless bodies of Pasquale Gentilcore, 19, a barman in Florence, and Stefania Pettini, 18, a company secretary, next to a Fiat 127 car. The macabre scene revealed disturbing details. The left front window of the Fiat car was shattered, the right door wide open, and the right front seat lowered. The car radio was on, and various personal items of the victims were scattered in and around the car. including Pasquale's wallet with 33,800 lire. Pasquale was found behind the wheel, wearing only underwear, with a watch on his wrist. His hands lay clasped under his left thigh, his head resting against the window. Combs lay supine, unclothed, behind the car. In addition, the murderer had inflicted more than 90 wounds on the girl's lifeless body with a very sharp instrument, but limited himself to pricking and lightly plunging the blade into the body tissue. The wounds were all over the body, but were concentrated in the victim's pubic area and breasts. Finally, in a heinous manner, a vine twig had been thrust into his intimacy. These particular acts of violence reflect the sadistic and disturbed nature of the aggressor. During the initial investigations, the investigators established that all the wounds sustained by the two victims had been caused by a blunt object, probably an awl, but when they returned to the scene of the crime, the day after the bodies were discovered, they found 5 Winchester H-series cartridges, fired from a Beretta 70 series, caliber .22 long rifle. Professor Mauro Mori outlined the sequence of the double murder. The murderer surprised the two young people, entwined in love, by firing the first shots through the front left window and hitting Pasquale. After going to the opposite side of the car, the murderer shot Stefania, who was wounded in non-vital points. Stefania attempted to flee and fight back, but was pierced by 3 blows from a very sharp weapon with such violence that they broke her sternum. The murderer then continued to hit Gun Tilcor with the knife despite the fact that he was now lifeless and, after dragging the girl's body behind the car, he then inflicted about 96 wounds on her lifeless body in a beastly manner. The night before the crime, a medium-sized car had been spotted in the vicinity. In the investigations into the horrendous double murder that took place in the Tuscan countryside near Borgo San Lorenzo in September 1974, the attention of the investigators quickly turned to a group of local suspects, often characterized by unusual or deviant behavior. Prominent among them was a mechanical expert from Borgo San Lorenzo who had threatened a couple in the past. Despite the seriousness of the accusations, his connection to the crime was ruled out just 3 days after his arrest, when thorough investigations discarded his possible guilt. At the same time, a 28-year-old man presented himself as the culprit, claiming to have committed the murder. This confession, however, was soon discredited. The young man proved to be suffering from psychological disorders with tendencies towards mythomania, which made him an unreliable source and excluded him from the list of possible murderers. Another investigative lead led detectives to a man who had pretended to be a healer or fortune teller from Scarperia, a town nearby, but who was actually a local restaurateur. This lead also proved fruitless. The man had spontaneously presented himself to the authorities, reporting the presence of suspicious characters in the vicinity of the crime scene at night. Despite the interesting testimony, the investigation did not lead to any relevant findings, and the investigation turned out to be a dead end. Despite numerous investigations and intense focus on various suspects, the case remained unsolved. The deadlock led to the publication of an article in the newspaper La Nazione, in which a criminologist made a bitter prediction. The killer would strike again. This statement only fed the legend of the monster of Florence, casting a long shadow of terror and uncertainty over the region, a shadow that persists to this day with many unanswered questions. An oddity concerned the finding of the victim's clothes, folded and neatly arranged outside the car. This detail contributed to the aura of mystery surrounding the case, leading to speculation that the killer had left some sort of signature or message. Criminal profiling experts interpreted this gesture as a possible reflection of the killer's need for control and order, or a way to further humiliate the victims. The discovery of Stefania's handbag stands out as one of the most curious aspects of the case. Despite a thorough search of the immediate perimeter of the crime scene, the handbag was not found with the other personal items of the victims. It was only after an anonymous tip that investigators were able to recover it. An anonymous phone call to the Borgo San Lorenzo Carabinieri station directed the authorities to a cornfield, located about 300 meters away from the site of the double murder. The details provided by the mysterious caller were surprisingly precise, allowing the Carabinieri to locate the handbag without difficulty. Inside, they found a wallet, the identity card, a small diary from 1974, and photographs. However, some precious objects believed to have been with Stefania at the time of the murder, such as a silver chain, rings, and a steel watch, were missing. This detail added a further layer of complexity to the case, raising questions about how and why the handbag was removed from the crime scene and the motives of the anonymous informant. The manner in which the handbag was found and the anonymous nature of the report fueled several theories. Some have speculated that the anonymous caller may have had some connection to the murderer, or even that the murderer himself made the call to divert or play games with the investigation. However, despite efforts to trace the caller and understand the context of this action, the identity of the informant and his intentions remain an enigma. The investigations, marked by developments and theories that are sometimes so labyrinthine as to confuse rather than enlighten, have not led to a satisfactory conclusion. Let us dwell on a few key points surrounding this crime which, with proper investigation, could yield important and crucial elements. It would seem that much information concerning the case is protected by investigative confidentiality or has been lost over the years. However, we try to ask some crucial questions. Had Stefania and Pasquale visited that sheep track previously? If so, who knew of this routine? Identifying individuals aware of their habits can narrow down potential suspects or provide further insights into the couple's interactions and unusual encounters during that period. Were they the only couple at that location at that time, or were there others? While it appears not to be an isolated incident, understanding the experiences of others in the same area could reveal crucial information about unusual occurrences or suspicious activities nearby. During the investigation, several voyeurs emerged as potential witnesses. Although seemingly unorganized at the time, compiling a comprehensive list of these individuals, both confirmed and suspected, could offer valuable leads. Now let us immerse ourselves in the context for a moment. In our opinion, this passage is one of the most interesting and sensitive. On the morning of the discovery, the relatives of the victims were informed and investigations began. Let us imagine the dismay of the parents. Take, for example, Stefania's mother, who in the years to follow was heard, photographed, and interviewed. Let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of these people on that sad day. Their daughter was brutally murdered. Something so heinous had never occurred in that area before. What would be the thoughts of the relatives? She is gone. Despair. Then perhaps a first set of questions. Why? Who? In those moments, it's hard to worry about a handbag. What value can it have compared to everything that happened, and the loss of a daughter in such circumstances? Yet some claim that the tip-off to the investigators about the handbag came precisely from relatives. One wonders, however, whether it was in response to a specific question from the investigators themselves. Did you remember she had a handbag? Alternatively, was it at the suggestion of someone in the family or someone effectively close during those tragic moments? This in itself may already be interesting, according to the witty deduction of criminologist Valerio Scrivo. He has written a book in recent years entitled Occhio Ragazzi. Scrivo pays particular attention to this matter in his writings, since even a close person or an acquaintance who suggests such a detail is worthy of at least some suspicion. In any case, let's proceed further. Let's assume that the suggestion to search for the bag comes from the investigators. After all, it's quite likely that the impetus to search for the purse came from the investigators themselves, as the police typically seek out the victim's identification documents in such cases. And indeed, once found, it will be discovered that these very documents were inside the bag. At this point, we find ourselves in front of a first closed door, which, in the absence of other details, could presumably conceal the identity of the murderer. One might wonder about the basis for this deduction. The writer devotes significant attention to this aspect, offering space for important reflections. The handbag is not at the scene of the crime. It is searched for a long time by the investigators, but to no avail. It wasn't until around 6:30 p.m. that day, prompted by a telephone call at the Borgo San Lorenzo police station, that a breakthrough came. An anonymous caller provided specific details on where to find it. As specified earlier, the purse wasn't found at the scene of the crime. Instead, it was about 300 meters away, off the sheep track, and onto the road to Saginale, on the opposite side of the field where the two young men were found lifeless. We now find ourselves asking new and legitimate questions. As you may have guessed, this point is crucial and suggests something likely disturbing. Why is the handbag not at the crime scene but found instead in the field? This discrepancy raises several questions. Let's attempt to provide some instinctive answers, reasoning as if we were on the scene at the time of the events. Case 1. Imagine he is a thief. He took the handbag to rummage through it to appropriate the valuables, and then to dispose of it immediately afterwards. In doing so, it's logical to assume he'd want to get away quickly to avoid arousing suspicion. This would allow him to evaluate the contents calmly elsewhere, somewhere more protected from prying eyes. Case 2. Let's consider the murderer is not a thief. Hindsight informs us of this. We also understand that if this isn't the first crime of the so-called monster, it's likely the second, occurring 7 years after the first. However, this crime denotes a new, exploratory attitude, different even from subsequent ones. It's as if we're witnessing a debut, the beginning of a delirium accompanied for the first time by the use of a knife. We might imagine that the murderer intended to take away the handbag as a container of possible souvenirs. Yet, he likely had second thoughts soon after, realizing the risk of possessing an object that could easily implicate him. Consequently, he decided to dispose of it as quickly as possible. Now let's consider Case 3, which we find to be a very plausible hypothesis by Scrivo. The murderer is local and has attempted to create his first diversion. Upon careful consideration, this theory holds significant weight. Let's examine the following points. The murderer seemingly didn't take anything, yet some objects believed to be in Stefania's possession were missing. The bag was thrown into the maize field with a parabolic trajectory, evidenced by broken plants in the third or fourth row, while those closer to the road remained intact. This suggests an intent to conceal the bag as effectively as possible. The bag was found where the Saginales road bends out of town, beyond the entrance to a parallel sheep track. This path leads back towards Borgo San Lorenzo and Vicchio, suggesting a local connection. An anonymous call arrived at the Borgo San Lorenzo station at 6:30 p.m. as the day's investigations neared conclusion. Was this timing accidental, or did the caller intend for the bag to be found that day? Otherwise, the implications for finding it there could shift. Investigators might consider if it was placed later to cast suspicion on a nearby resident. The caller had two undeniable insights: awareness of the ongoing investigation and knowledge that the handbag was sought but not yet found. The caller demonstrated a keen interest in the handbag's discovery, knew its specific location, and called late to significantly advance the investigation. Considering all this, a disturbing yet tremendously clear picture emerges, which in hindsight might have been crucial in capturing the killer. What then could be the significance of the anonymous caller's conduct? Let's hypothesize for a moment that the caller might also be the perpetrator.
I tossed the purse into a maze field just beyond a specific point on the road, aiming to lead investigators to believe the murderer was an outsider when, in reality, I'm a local resident. The police will likely think I discarded the bag from a car while exiting the village. However, the investigators haven't found it yet, and I'm anxiously monitoring their progress. It's imperative it's discovered today. Otherwise, my whole ruse might collapse, potentially redirecting suspicion towards locals like myself. Merely hinting about the missing handbag to Stefania's family wasn't enough. I must accelerate the discovery. There's no other option now but to make that phone call.
This is merely a hypothesis, but don't you also believe that this could be a lead worth investigating? We certainly think it is. As the curtain falls on the murky 1974 case, the echoes of heinous crimes committed in the Tuscan countryside continue to resonate through the corridors of time. The names Pasquale Gentilcore and Stefania Pettini, marked by their tragic demise, have etched themselves into the collective consciousness, becoming symbols of an enduring mystery. Despite decades passing, this enigma remains cloaked in shadows of doubt and silence. With no culprit definitively identified, a void in justice persists, casting an enduring question mark over Italy's criminal history. Is it still possible today to find the killer? Perhaps. What are your thoughts? This is merely the beginning of our journey, a path dedicated to in-depth study and reflection on the unsolved cases and enigmatic mysteries that have left an indelible mark on Italian news, history, and beyond. Let's ensure that stories like these never fade into oblivion. You might be wondering, will we revisit the Monster of Florence? Well, let me assure you, we are just embarking on this odyssey. The so-called monster's reign of terror spanned at least 11 years, but that's merely the surface. The mystery runs deep, with endless details and coincidences awaiting our unraveling. Explore further with us. Support our endeavors by subscribing to the Riti Tosta channel and activating the notification bell.